I've spent the last year putting the pieces of my life back together after I lost everything in my 6-figure marketing business. Yeah, I loved that agency. And now I'm taking my decade plus of traditional marketing experience, combining it with the latest online marketing techniques and starting again from scratch. The question is, how will I do it? With the new challenges like cash flow, debt, and no team. This podcast is here to give you the answer, so join me and follow along as I apply and share marketing strategies to grow my online business using only the simplest, most uncomplicated methods. My name is Samantha Gooden, and welcome to Marketing Launch Radio. All right, welcome to Marketing Launch Radio. Welcome to Marketing Launch Radio. Welcome. And we have an extra special guest on Marketing Launch Radio today. I want to just say hello to Kai Kai. Hi, Kai Kai. Kai Kai is one of our special guests, but really Kai Kai is our vision baby, the very first baby that has come through one of my coaching programs, and her beautiful mother, Latoya Jack. Hi, Kai Kai, and hi, Latoya.
Hi. Kai Kai is focused on something else, and hi, Samantha. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining me here. I think right now you are the epitome of what it means to be a woman who is all about the launch, right? So the message of the launch and the Launch Academy is that you want to be reimagining and reinventing yourself. You have been through kind of like this reinvention process. And when you and I first started working together, your vision was to one day have a baby. You weren't yet pregnant. Things were going crazy in your business. And now here you are with baby in hand, and lots of things have changed with your business. So if you can, Latoya, tell us, like, who are you? Superwoman?
No, absolutely not. Not Superwoman. Haven't got it right. Haven't got it perfect. It isn't even down pat, as you well can see. But I'm just trying to work on my vision and trying to get my vision to materialize so that I can actually be able to help as many people as I can.
Right. And, you know,
all at the same time, balancing my own personal life and my own personal goals.
Yeah. And, you know, you did the thing that women do so well, you know, just deflecting. I don't have it perfect. I don't have it right, but guess what happens? What you're doing right now is perfect. Where you are right now with Kai Kai is perfect. I appreciate you being on this podcast and doing this juggle, because you're doing what so many other women wish they could do, which is live the life, live your vision, live the life that you have not only in your heart, but actually live it in reality. And you're doing that really well. So I want to commend you for that.
Thank you.
So, Latoya, you were so welcome. Okay. So when we first met, you were doing your consultancy offline, and you were actually pretty challenged. You were stretched in multiple ways.
True.
Tell us, what kind of consultancy do you do, and what was happening in your life, in your life then?
All right. So I'm in occupational safety and health. I manage a company that helps businesses to comply with safety standards. I know Guyana has gone through a huge transition from being mainly focused on construction industries and mining and manufacturing, to all of a sudden having and being number 4 in the world for oil and gas. So that's a huge shift in a very short space of time. And when I started my business, it was simply because I recognized that shift was going to happen, and that I needed to, if I was going to actually say that I was going to help Guyana in some way, shape, form, or fashion, that I needed to be here to do that. So I left my life in Trinidad, came home, started this business, and was pushing it hard until we met.
Yeah.
Pushing it to the limits, actually, until we met.
And if there's one thing I can say, you are definitely doing a lot of hard work, but you weren't
Mhm.
always getting the returns that you wanted to. You were
Mhm.
running a team. A lot of the material that you were doing was in the offline space. And then we came up with a strategy that kind of helped to shift that. But the biggest part, I think, of the work that we did together is right there in your hands, because we can't overlook this, especially as women in business, that we're not isolated, right? What's happening with your child, or what's happening in your love life, what's happening in your mind and your personal life is not separate than what's happening in your business. We're
Correct.
actually this integrated, we're beautiful integrated beings. And for you, I know you had this desire. I don't know if you recall, but you had written a journal entry around what your vision was. You want to share kind of like what your vision was then and where you are now?
So when we met, one of the first things that you said was I needed a journal. I had heard this many times before. I mean, it wasn't the first time, but I'd always been very apprehensive to the process because for me, writing it down, saying it meant that I had to believe it, and then writing it down meant I had to actually see it in my mind. Sometimes I was so scared to actually envision having a business and having a baby and having a life and having to balance all of that, that when we started, you said that was the first thing I had to do. I was like, oh no, here we go. And with all the fear in me, I wrote it down. And it wasn't very long after that it manifested. Needless
Oh,
to say,
you've got a baby now. But you know what? You know what I remember too? I remember um we were looking at what success meant for you, right? And even before the baby, success for you was going to be just being able to go home and sit down with a book, right? And not be
sit down
working
with a
late.
book and a glass of wine.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. And have a glass of wine. That's what success looked like for you. And then a few weeks later, I'm like, you message me and say, you never guess what I'm home doing. And you were at home resting
I
and
was
relaxing.
home with a glass of wine. It was box wine, nonetheless, it was wine. And I was listening to music. It was
Yes.
after 6 and I was done for the day. So that was a first. That was a first. My
So
goodness.
now I don't want anyone to get the impression that Latoya was or is the ideal perfect client, because Latoya, when you
Oh,
first started with
oh
coaching,
no.
you
Oh
barely wanted to
no.
show up. What made the change for you? Like,
If we're honest, I know you and I, we did these numbers a few months ago, or maybe about a couple months ago. We did these numbers as to how long it took me to actually get into coaching. Just as long as it took me to get this baby. I'll tell you that. 9 whole months. from from the time we made the decision that from the time I made the decision that I wanted this to the time I actually did it, 9 months. And then when I came and when I started doing it, I wasn't there. I really wasn't there. I was just like, I'm gonna try to do this thing because I think I need it, but I really don't believe it's gonna get me anything. And
what
that's the truth. That's how I started.
what um what changed for you in the process?
I think it was at the first point when you said it's completely up to me. Like I'm gonna be able to get it if I want it, only I choose if I choose to do so. And it was at that point I said, well, you know what? I've never been kind of the person to go halfway. So I said, you know what? I'm just gonna go all out on this thing. If I'm gonna write a journal about the life I want to have, listen, let's pull out the stops. Let's just throw all the bells and whistles in there and let's see what happens. What could it hurt? It was just a book. I was simply just writing something in a book. And I looked at it like that and I said, well, if I can't even allow myself to imagine in a book and write it down, then what am I doing? I'm actually wasting time. So I decided I was actually gonna go all the way to what I wanted. And I did. And it worked. And it's still working. Amazing enough, it still is working. And listen, I'm still shocked sometimes. But here we are.
Um, why do you think it's so hard as a woman in business to connect with what you truly desire?
Um, I think we have this notion that, well, for me, I've always had the experience that persons say you can't have it all. You can't do this one. You either have this or you either do that. You either go to school or you either do. And it's a matter of choosing, and it always means that you have to sacrifice something. I mean, I'm not here to say that I don't sacrifice, that sacrifice doesn't happen in my life. No, but for what I'm getting now, it doesn't really compare.
Hmm. Hmm.
The
So,
sacrifices that I have to make.
yeah, the sacrifices. So at the time when as we started going through, you were working in an offline space. You also had a team, and yeah, we started putting a strategy together, and then it's almost like disaster struck. Your team just kind of went
Fell
lopsided, right?
apart. Listen, it all fell down. All of it. Team members with just a little bit of reprimand just decided, listen, this is my 2 weeks notice.
And they were like, "Bye."
Bye. We're gonna be here with you forever. We love this. Yes, let's march on and champion this thing called safety. And then they were like, you're asking for too much. I think I need to leave.
So how do you so now you were focused, you had a strategy, we had set financial goals inside of your business, things were going, we were actually moving towards that, we had done product development and product creation, so all of that was moving, and then suddenly the guys who were supposed to support you on your team kind of went south. How would you recommend that a woman in business handles that, right? How do you handle things when it seems like you have the plan in place and everything goes wujang all in the other direction?
um, I don't know if I have the answer for that, but for me, what I did was I focused mainly. I vented a lot
Hmm.
and I cried a lot, and I was upset. I was frustrated. I was angry. But in the end, what I wanted to do was much bigger than the people who left.
Woo!
Right.
Woo-hoo.
It was
This is
much
pause.
bigger.
What I wanted to do was bigger than the people who left. Okay. Love that. Your vision and your mission, what is it that you want to do that was so much bigger?
So for me, I do have a passion for road safety. My business is in occupational health and safety. So we do from supervisory training to consulting to emergency planning and preparedness. But when I think about what I want to impact in Guyana, it's road safety. It's being able to say I'm going to drive my car today to work from point A to point B, and I'm going to be safe all the way. I don't have to, yes, I have to worry about getting into a collision or getting into something unplanned and unpredictable. However, what I don't want is for it to be a case where I almost know that I might. Do you understand?
Yeah.
It's
So
not
you,
that it's at a point where it's not a matter of if, but when.
yeah.
I want to change that. In Guyana, we deserve to be able to use our roadways without having to have that fear of knowing you're gonna at some point or the other get into a collision.
So is it that the road fatalities or road incident rate is very high in Guyana?
It is. They are, and not only are they particularly high for the per capita that we have, for the amount of people that we have, it's almost as if we have a, and it's not almost, it is as if we have a culture where it's it's expected. It's gotten to the point where we expect these things, and so it's no longer a novelty to the
Mm-hmm.
population.
Hmm.
Oh,
Hey, Kai Kai. Oh, okay. Kai Kai's getting something to
she's
eat. This
just
is
having
so
a
cool.
minute trying to adjust to this bubble.
I understand. So for those of you, if you are listening to this podcast, you definitely want to go check the podcast out on YouTube, where you're going to see Latoya juggling the new bottle for Kai Kai and having this interview with me. And I mean, she's doing it like a boss. And Kai, you know, she's your first child, right? She's your first baby.
She is. She absolutely is. So of course, like anything else, there's a learning curve.
Okay, so I love that you've said that learning curve, because even as you transition in your business, there was also a learning curve. You made the decision that you wanted to make your business more robust, especially as you were going on maternity leave, and you recognize that you may not have had a huge team to support you. So we
Um,
created a strategy that would have kind of helped you to go into the online space with online support, so you could outsource several things, still have your business up and running while you had your maternity leave. Can you share a little bit with us about what that experience was like?
all right. So from first of all, trying to figure out what could be outsourced and what could be put in the online space. That was a challenge for me because if anyone here has had a dream, for me, I felt like for the past 2 to 3 years, I had a baby. There was a baby. Chronicle was my baby, and I was building that baby, and that baby was growing and building legs and building strength. And so, for the most part, a lot of what was required, I didn't want to do because I felt like I was going to give up control of my baby. And so, choosing what could be and what should be on the in the online space was quite a thing. Then came doing it, putting it out there, deciding what information would go where, who would have access, who would be able to see, when would we share certain things. Because to be quite honest, before 2017, I was actually one of the first or probably only companies that was doing what I was doing. And so, as much as you want to say, "Oh, full, I have full transparency in my business," transparency could mean my competitive advantage for whenever someone else decided to come into the market. So outsourcing was particularly stressful, but it had to be done. It just had to be done. So we moved marketing onto the online space. So I got a virtual assistant, first of all, someone who is on the other side of the planet, has when I'm asleep, she's awake. When it's completely different. We have a 12-hour time difference between us, first of all. So that's one. The other thing that we did, we put a lot of our training in the virtual space. We're still transitioning some programs, as well as creating new programs to create value to new clientele was also crucial for me as a part of the plan for going on maternity leave.
So I want to just commend you, Latoya, because as you talk, I see very clearly the way that you implemented the steps of the strategy that we spoke about. You've built out your value ladder. But what I've always appreciated about you is that you get the work done. We talk about it, we create the strategy, and ultimately you go ahead and do it. You know, once you're convinced it has to be done, you, you go ahead
Yeah,
and do it. And yeah, you have to be convinced. And you get it done. What would you say to a woman now who's, she's watching you or she's hearing you, she knows that you're there with your daughter? How old is Kai Kai?
she is 7 weeks
7 weeks. So
and a few days.
there you go. So you've got your daughter who is less than 2 months old. You're feeding her. You're on camera looking smashing with me, just sharing about your story. What would you say to the woman who feels as if, she's pretty lost? She wants that. She wants to have a family structure. She wants to have a business that's up and running for her. She wants to have impact where she is, but she feels as if she just can't do it because things in her life and her business are not working out right now. What would you say to her?
A few years ago, and I thought about this question even before we came online, and I thought I'd share this. A few years ago, a friend introduced me to Tony Robbins, and I bought the books, I bought everything, and the first thing that I did, as per one of my flaws, I handed it off to a friend of mine who I thought needed it much more than I did. So I never read books. I never used the things that I bought, but I saw someone else's need and I decided they needed it more than I did. A few years later, I did the same thing when I found Lisa Nichols and her story and was following her as a coach. And I handed it off to someone else. And when they didn't read it, I got upset because I was like, yo, this is so much value. What is it that you guys are not seeing? And I'm not seeing it either because I never used it. But when I was doing my research for Lisa Nichols, one of the things she said when she first met Oprah Winfrey, in her interview, she was talking to Oprah about how they do business and what they do. And, just that initial conversation. I had it right for a few seconds. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. Um, in their initial conversation, she was asking Oprah, Oprah said she just came off the phone with one of her coaches and she asked Lisa if she had coaches, as Lisa is a coach. And she said, yes, she has three. Oprah said, oh, I have four. And then she said in that moment, she decided she needed another coach. I think if we think about it, some of the greatest athletes and some of the people that we most admire have coaches. And it's not because the coaches are so awesome at what they do. Usain Bolt's coach never runs, doesn't know how to run, can't run,
Exactly.
but he is the coach, the fastest man on the planet.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that your coach doesn't have to do what you do. They just have to help you to do what you do better.
Oh
And
my
so for
God.
me, that is any woman that feels lost right now, I'm sure to God gonna tell them, go find yourself a coach, because sometimes we feel like we don't want to tell people our business.
Oh God.
True. But sometimes we need to tell people our business because a separate and an outside and objective perspective can do wonders. Honestly.
Listen, right now, I wish on behalf of coaches everywhere, I'm doing the happy dance. But that is so beautiful the way that you shared it. I didn't expect that to be the answer, but I know it's such a heartfelt answer because part of your challenge initially was, me don't want to tell them about my business. I'm not sure about talking to this woman. And Lord God, it's going to get serious. And the moment that you opened up, Latoya, the moment you opened up is when we started seeing breakthroughs happen, not just in your business, but in your personal life, in even just the way that you were dreaming and that kind of manifestation. And the same thing happened for me when I had my first coach. I did not have my first breakthrough until the 6th session because I could not get over trusting him. Now, everything we did was virtual. We're like, oh God, I'm like, is this even working? Plus, I borrowed money to come into this program. Like, what the heck am I doing? Like, am I crazy? Right?
Yes. Listen. I think for me, and I'm going to be honest here, I don't pay for things I don't get. So if I pay it, I'm going to get what I said I'm going to get. So when you insisted that, oh, we needed to do a journal, I was like, well, you know what? We're going to do this journal because I paid my money. And if she said this is what it's going to be, this is what it's going to be. If it doesn't work, I'm going to ask for my money back.
Yeah. Doesn't quite work like that in coaching, but I understand the principle. And for me, after I had that first breakthrough, I just wanted to keep going. And I gave myself to the process every single time. And I keep noticing that every single time that I give myself to a process, that's when the shifts and the changes happen. So I want to thank you on behalf of women everywhere for giving yourself to this process. Like this picture right here of you just, burping kai right now is just so beautiful because this is part of the process. This is part of the growth process. You're looking good doing it. I just want you to know.
All right. I just hope she does it. I'll tell you, I'll be quite frank. This is one of the hardest parts. The burping. I can do everything else. It's just the burping. It's on its own time. It's like I could be here for 2 minutes or I could be here for an hour. We don't know.
It feels to me like that's a part of the story of life, that when we go into something, we want it to be a 2-minute experience, but sometimes it could be an hour experience.
Maybe just gotta wait. This one works on my patience.
Well, okay, it looks like there are quite a few things that have worked on your patience. Yeah. Go Kai burped. For those of you who didn't hear, Kai burped. This is one of the funniest podcast episodes ever. Okay, so let me ask you this question quickly. If you were stranded on a desert island, and there was one thing that you needed to keep you happy, what would that one thing be?
This might be the hormone stopping. But it would definitely just have to be me and my family right now. The trio, myself, my fiance, my baby, we're gonna be good. Because right now how we exist is kind of like on an island. Even except for when mom is around, then it's not an island. We're pretty much come to shore once mom appears.
That's so adorable. Okay. The one thing you would need to have around you is your family. I think that's beautiful. I think that's an absolutely beautiful thing. Latoya, thank you so much. Kai, thank you so much for our extra special guest, Kai. Latoya, I watched you and I continue to watch you apply yourself all the time. Sometimes you send me the funniest messages, which I appreciate. The one you sent, I actually think I should share this, but you're just hilarious. And I love that your approach to life is playful and you're always willing to learn. Thank you on behalf of every woman that you do that. Thank you for sharing with us what it's like to be a real life CEO, running her own company and her life. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me and us.
Thank- All right.
If you're listening to this, then you're probably in one of two scenarios. Either you're a woman with a great talent who's ready to launch your personal brand but isn't quite sure how to take the next step, or you're running your own business, you've got some marketing happening, ads going, and content. Maybe you've even got an agency, but things aren't clicking just right, and you're trying to tie all the pieces together. Well, if you want my help or just want to get an idea of what it's like to work with me, then just go to unlockyourbrandnow.com. I believe in simplifying marketing and making it a process that's very, very easy. But I'm also on a mission to help every woman that I can launch her personal brand or her business brand in 21 days or less. So go to unlockyourbrandnow.com and go check it out.